Thank you everybody, and welcome to the North Face Never Stop Exploring speaker series, live, literally, from the Royal Institute of Great Britain in central London. So this is stop 5 on our tour. Happy to say that you have kind of joined in a group of about 2,000 people who've come to listen to this powerful story. Tonight, as well as our audience here of about 400 people, we're also broadcasting this live on our website and also on many other websites across Europe. And in addition to that, this is quite exciting for the North Face. We have our store opening, our largest store in Europe, in Gothenburg. So a special hello to the guys in our store in Gothenburg, especially the directors. Okay, so I've already had a couple of questions about the program this evening, so I'll give you a quick overview of the plan. For the next 45 minutes, our athletes will answer some questions and tell their story. Straight after that, we will show the award-winning film Cold of this expedition, which is about 20 minutes. And then after that, you have your opportunity to ask the boys any question that you would like. And after that, we will invite you outside for a book signing with the guys. So, enough of me talking for this evening. Let's bring on our first athlete of the evening. The expedition leader, the team leader, the only person to have summited 3 winter, 8,000 meter peaks from Bergamo in Italy, Simone Moro.
Thank you. Thank you, Keith.
Fancy seeing you again, Simone. Okay, Simone, so I'm going to hopefully ask the questions that you're also wanting to know the answer to. So, Simone, you've had 3 successful winter summits. You've also had some others that you've turned back before the summit as well.
Exactly.
So, the most obvious question, I believe, would be what is the fascination with climbing these peaks in the middle of winter?
You know, this had been one of the most common questions in the last 2 weeks during our tour. And it is also my question every time, because while I'm running and preparing for the next expedition, I said, but Simone, why you are going in winter? You need to go in winter? And the answer is always the same. Yes, I love it. I like it. I love it. But before to explain you what it means to do one 8,000 meter peak in winter, or try to explain with my words what it represents a winter climb, I have to make one step behind and think about who invented the winter alpinism on the highest mountain of the earth. It means, okay, I'm proud, I'm happy, I'm satisfied that I am the only one who achieved 3 complete winter ascent. It means starting also for the expedition after the 21st of December. But I have been not the first. And I'm not the only one who achieved such climb. Maybe 3 is only me, but who created this? And the country who invented the winter alpinism is Poland. The Polish had been the first and also the only that had been able to climb and continuously climb for 7 times, so the 50% of the 14 of the 8,000 meter peaks. So probably the best thing is let them to talk or let them to explain what it means to climb in winter, because they invented, they created, and also probably give also more power to the content of your question. So for that reason, I prepared one video with the authentic emails that the Polish friends gave me, and it explained just in 3 minutes, even less, what it means to climb in winter. So let's start with the video.
Zima to przygoda bez sukcesu, bo jak chcesz mieć sukces, to jedziesz sobie wiosną albo jesienią. Natomiast zima to jest już więcej z loterii, no i szanse na sukces są niewielkie. My podejmujemy te wyzwania zimowe, wydaje mi się, dlatego, że chcemy koniecznie coś tam jeszcze więcej zrobić w tym Himalajzmie, żeby się zapisać jeszcze w historii.
So I always admire the Polish, because if I have to analyze the modern alpinism, probably without the Polish intuition, what I'm doing now is something that probably can stay just in my mind. Without the Polish huge step on 7 of the 14,000 meter peaks, probably we are not here now to talk about the winter ascent. But as you saw in the video, after 1998, something happened. Because from 1980 till 1988, on 8 years, for 7 times they succeed. That is a huge percentage of success. Polish, 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 always. So after for 17 years, nothing. And I have to be honest, I had been also one of the persons who failed during these 17 years. Because I always remember that it was Christmas of 1997, while I was trying Annapurna in winter together with Anatoly Bukreyev and Dmitry Sobolev. We were 3, and I had been the only person who came home. So I get also the hardest moment of my life attempting this kind of climb. So it was also a long time also for me to try to figure out which could be the new tactic to be able to arrive till the summit of 1,000 meter peak. And finally, as it was mentioned in the last sentences, in 2004 and 2005, I went on the summit of Shishapagma in winter, but I was not alone. There was another climber with me. From which country? Poland, again, Polish. So I remember when they said, you are the first not Polish guy who summited 1,000 meter peak, give the sense of how strong they are and how high it was the tradition that they have. After it came 2 attempts in Karakoram in Pakistan, and linking what the first words you said tonight, I failed even close to the summit. I was in 7,840, so less than 200 meters close to the summit. It was perfect weather, I was feeling perfectly. And so they said, why you come back? It was late, it was 2 p.m. And everybody knows that in winter at 5 o'clock it comes darkness, so I want to avoid to climb only using my heart, but using also my brain. They said, what I do? I can climb because I already climbed Broad Peak, I knew the road, I can climb easily. I will enter in the history, but I will enter also in the final part of my personal history. So it's better to come back. And in 2009, finally, I came back to Makalu, and this gave me also the opportunity to say who was with me and who should be here seated tonight. In 2009, after 2 failed attempts on Broad Peak, I decided to return in Nepal and to attempt the last mountain remaining unclimbed in winter in Nepal. And this mountain is Makalu. that from the strange case, it was also the first that had been attempted in 1980, so 29 years of attempts. And my partner at that time was Denis, and in two only person in alpine style, in just 19 days, completely, from the first day we started from expedition and when we come back, we came back with the first winter ascent of Makalu. And unfortunately, Denis is not here with us tonight. And he's very sad. He's watching us, okay, in this moment, really. He's watching us and listening us. And, you know, for us, everything is simple. He came from Russia, emigrated in Kazakhstan, and it was not so easy to get the visa to come here tonight. We discovered, or he discovered that UK is not in Schengen, and so yesterday morning, he was out of this fantastic country. So we are sad, but we organized something as kind of surprise. He's listening us, and so probably he can listen also your applause. And then in 2010, for the first time after 7 winters, I remained at home, and I was looking what the climbing community was doing in winter. There was several attempts in winter. And in 2011, they said, okay, all the mountains of Nepal had been climbed in winter, remained the last 5 of Pakistan, K2, Broad Peak, Gasherbrum I, Gasherbrum II, and Nanga Parbat. There was a massive number, it's a massive for the winter, 5 winter expeditions going there. So Nanga Parbat, okay, was occupied. G1 was, okay, occupied. Broad Peak was occupied. The only 2 mountains remained free was K2 and G2. G come before letter K, I think. So I choose the G2. And I went with Denis and another the North Face athletes that I would like to call here with me and share the time is Corey Richards.
I feel like we're all in this really small room together just talking. There's so many people, it feels so intimate.
Yeah,
it's like a campfire. Except I'm in the middle of the campfire.
That was your insistence. I'm only going to come to Europe if it's an intimate venue. So
yeah,
here's the deal. So before we throw the first question to Corey, just one more question for you, Simone, in terms of positioning a 8,000 meter winter ascent of the Karakoram peaks compared to that of the Himalaya. How would you kind of make the distinction?
The difference is not in terms of temperature, and even in the terms of the speed of the wind. But the huge difference are mainly 2. The first is that the good weather windows are very, very rare and very short. So you can have 2, maximum 3, in the entire 3 months winter. And the good weather window, it means 15 hours, 20 hours, at least 48 hours, not more. So to be able to climb a so big mountain in so short time, it is the things and the facts why the number of success was 0 in Karakoram. And in Nepal, the intensity of the cold and the wind is the same, but the good weather windows sometimes are not so rare, or even they are in the same number, they are wider. So maybe you can have also 2.5 days good weather or 3 days good weather. And this is what it happened, for example, on Makalu. We have 2.5 days good weather, and there's huge difference, 1 day is more or 1 day less. And so this is what why I discovered. And the second reason is that in Karakoram, the first village, for example, close to 4 of the 5 8,000 meter peaks is 7 days walk in summer. In winter, it means sometimes 10 days, but if there is deep snow, it means you are completely alone. In Nepal, there are villages 1 day or 2 days close to the mountain. So it's worse. Karakoram is much, much worse.
Corey, you've had an amazing 2011, so you are now the first American to climb a winter 8,000 meter peak. You've also recently won, your film recently won Best Overall Film at the Mountain Film Festival. So if we step back a little bit here, this is kind of the opening question in terms of I'm sure the audience will be interested to know your first meeting with Simone Moro.
Yeah, so I was homeless before this year. I just lived in a box. No, I met Simone in 2009. I was in the Himalaya for my first time, and he was there for like his 90th. And he came by the base camp of a women's expedition. I was on a women's expedition, which is awkward. But I was there as the photographer, so you know, it's slightly less awkward, but still pretty awkward. I was there photographing Ines Papert and two other extraordinary female climbers trying to do a first winter ascent of Quang de Lo. And of course, Denis and Simone heard that there was a base camp full of women in the middle of the Himalayan winter, and they decided it'd be good to go there and you know, hang out.
You know, you are in Himalayan, you listen, there is a female expedition, you're doing acclimatization, let acclimatize visiting them. But there was also a man there, so we...
Yeah, then there was a guy there, and they were super bummed out. But so it goes. And yeah, so they came by, and we met in base camp there. And actually, Simone and I had an instant rapport. Denis and I were just like, hey, it's nice to meet you, it's nice to meet you. And then he just started eating everything on the table. It's like, I got to get fat for Makalu. And then Ines, what ended up happening was Ines, her expedition sort of fell apart just because of weather and time. And Simone was very instrumental in encouraging Ines to go back and try again. And by default, I was the only person there. So she was like, do you want to go with me, climb this thing? I was like, okay, I'm the only person. Sure, I'll do it. So so that's how we met. That was the first time we met. Yeah.
And then the invite to join the team that had already successfully summited Makalu. When did that come about?
That was, so yeah, Simone and I kept in contact, and we just sort of shared emails. And then I went back to the Himalaya in the spring of 2010, and I ended up climbing Lhotse. And Lhotse is the fourth highest mountain in the world. It's right around 8,500 meters. And I went back, and I had this, I really didn't have a climbing permit or any reason to climb, aside from the fact that I wanted to. And I was there with Conrad Anker, who's another North Face team member, and he basically could see that I really wanted to climb, so he got me this permit to go on Lhotse. Or he helped me get it, and the Benegas brothers helped me stay there. And Simone was also there, and the way it happened was I got my permit on May 18th, which means I could leave base camp on May 19th, and the summit window was May 23rd. And usually it takes like 8 weeks to climb these things, and I was like, oh, I'll try it in 6 days. And everybody was like, oh, it's not smart. But I tried, and actually I ended up doing it, which was a huge surprise to me. But also I think it was at that time that Simone was like, well, you know, he's done a couple winter expeditions now and had some success, and obviously he's not totally out of shape. So, do you want to go? So that was how that came about. And I said, yeah, sure. What are we doing? Where are we going? G2? What's that?
G2. Okay. Where is this?
Yeah.
Anyway, but honestly, it was the combination of all these things, because you have also to imagine that when you create a team, it's important that there is a wonderful feeling in between the teams. And if it's happened quite immediately between me and Corey, it had been not the same with Denis, you know. A Russian and an American. And one Italian in between said, we are going together. And I remember Denis said, it was not the happiest person. Why you choose Corey? I said, because, you know, trust in my intuition, in my nose. Okay, if you say that it's okay, but he climbed only one 8,000 meter peak. Yeah, in 6 days. He did already 2 winter expeditions. He's a wonderful photographer and cameraman. We are all sponsored from North Face. We are 3 different continents believing in the same project. I think this could be the right team. But I was probably one of the few at the beginning, because also other friends told me, are you not losing the final result inviting Corey, but you are not so long time climbing with him. I said, trust in me. And now it's nice to say, I get a good intuition.
So Corey, I mean, obviously joining a successful team that had already done the job, and you were the outsider stepping in, and I think we get that impression when we see the film later. What was your experience joining the team of the Italian and the Russian or the Kazakhstani?
You know, team dynamics are always weird, and obviously, I knew that Simone and I got along quite well, and Denis, obviously, I knew was Russian, and and I knew that he didn't totally trust me. So coming into this very established dynamic was difficult. Not because they were unwelcoming, but because it was really a test of my humility, because I can be kind of arrogant and cocky, and there was no space for that, because here are two people with a tremendous amount more experience than me, and just so much more history and background, not only in the mountains, but together. So for me to join that team was intimidating, because I had to shut up. That was my job. It was like, okay, I'm here and I need to be paying attention and learning and sponging as much as I can as far as experience goes. And it was hard, because, you know, I tell this story a lot, but there was one point during the climb where I was saying to Denis and Simone, we're in the tent and I haven't been able to lead anything, and they're like, and we're basically just walking, so like, what's leading at that point? And I'm like, you guys, I can do this. I can take over here. And Denis is like, Corey, I hope this will not break relation. But you cannot lead. You are not strong enough. Fine, you break trail, bitch. And that was sort of the beginning of the dynamic. Now, to clarify and to be very clear about this, Denis and I are as close as two people can get now. He's one of my best friends, and it took the trip to really nurture and foster that relationship. But, you know, I really look to Denis as an older brother. But it was very funny, because at the beginning, you know, Simone was always like, no, he can do this. Denis is like, no.
Why? He's not strong enough. Not strong enough.
He is not strong enough.
Sorry, Simone. And sometimes he came also to me. I don't know if he knows. Simone, I have to talk with you. What? I think we will lose the summit. Why? Bad weather? Corey. He said, Denis, he's not as you are thinking. He's strong. So, in some way, you know, you can become friend of Denis like this. He has a kind of filter, very small filter. But if you pass through as he did, after now, you remember also 3 days ago, Corey, I was missing you in Moscow. Every time he's also with Corey. Now, one day he told me, Simone, I heard the bad news about Corey. She said, what? He's not coming to Nanga Parbat. Yes, but why? Maybe we can invite him. I invite him, but he has something to do. So now I'm happy. What I took back from this expedition, Keith, honestly, is what I will remember forever is not the first winter climb of G2. That, okay, these things remain and everybody probably will remember. What we will remember forever is the spirit that we took back. Because it's much easier to lose a friend than not to find a friend in expedition. Because you are not artificially polite, or you don't have time, okay, to find a compromise. You are what you are. So at the end, when we were fighting together, reaching the summit together, and coming back, and to be here, and looking for a way to get Denis also with us tonight, this is something that makes the expedition successful.
Cool. Well, I'm going to give Hannes a heads up. I think we're going to do one more question, and then hopefully we can bring the third part of the team in. So Hannes will do the link in a second. But Corey, I think one of the things that we certainly noticed within the North Face, and anybody that followed the expedition online would have noticed that the quality of the film and the photography that came back from G2. So I don't know how you did it. So how can you do all the things that you're doing anyway with the guys at high altitude in winter and still take the films and the photography as well?
Lots and lots of ibuprofen. That's right. Popping it. No, truthfully, I think it's more just, and this sounds a little bit cliche, but photography and now moving into this videography is on some level become very much an extension of just what we do. So for me, I've been doing this for 10 years, taking photos in the mountains in very odd, cold places usually, and And I went there to do that. So it's very much a basic extension of my, my life as a climber. It's just one step further. You take that one step further. And even when situations are hard, you just continue to do it because that's your job. That's why you're there. And you're trying to tell a story. And I think it comes down to a passion not only for climbing, but a passion for storytelling. Because I think there's a lot of value in telling these stories. But as far as like the technical, side of it, where do you keep your batteries? How many bodies do you take with you? How many lenses? It's just like the climb itself. You pare it down to the absolute minimum. And it's a reduction. And it's a reduction because the most beautiful things are the simplest things. And the simplest things are really the culmination of the complexities of everything. And when you have your camera with you, you decide, okay, what's going to be best? One body, one lens. That's the style we're going in. The only thing I had extras of were batteries. And you keep the batteries in your down suit next to your body to keep them warm. The camera's outside. You have your down mittens tied to your down suit here and here so you can pull them off. And then you have windstopper fleece gloves underneath. And it's really just robotic motions. You take the mittens off, pull out a battery, put it in the camera body, turn it on, shoot or film. And that's really it. There's no mystery or science behind it. You just have to have the wherewithal to do it. And that's really what it comes down to.
Cool, thank you. We're in a live situation here, so I'm not sure if we're going to be able to link live to Denis, who is...
There he is.
There he is.
Denis!
So the first thing for the audience is to let's see how good Corey's impression of Denis was.
Yes.
So Denis, can you hear us?
Yes, kid, I'm hearing you. Thank you.
Fantastic. There you go, Corey. Spot on. Very good. So Denis, it's great to see you, and it's a real shame you're not here, but I guess I'm going to just throw the first question to you in terms of, can you describe the relationship that you had and now have with your other two kind of colleagues in the mountain? The journey that you went on and where you are today?
It's an interesting question, because just now I remind for myself the days of expedition where we meet the direct contact through internet with ISPO. It's very similar now, I feel.
Yes, it's true.
Not so much cold, of course, but... Okay, you understand. I like these guys because they always supported me. Because, as you remember, Simone Moro is the best leader of expedition. He's working always much more than any member. He supports, he is smiling, he do everything best. And also Corey. Before it was happened like this, that Corey disturbed me from many important details of preparation in the expedition. I remember it's very clear. He took me to the camera, he took me to do some interviews, and for me it was difficult. I was shaking a little bit. But after I saw his potential for the job, and he closed this very important thing, online translation from our expedition. He was working in mountain, and also he was working in base camp during a return. He sit in front of computer during 20 hours, on always working. I'm very glad, I'm very happy that I participate in this expedition with so strong friends, so strong guys.
Yes. Thank you.
And thank you, Denis. The second question, I think, and this will be our slot really, is the descent from the summit. Like any good summit, you're literally halfway there. And the downhill was very challenging. You had bad weather, zero visibility, caught in an avalanche, and also at least one of the team fell in a crevasse. So I'm not sure how you can sum that up in a short story, but your thoughts on the descent, Denis?
Descent, it was incredible. Okay, now it's an incredible story. That time it was normally. It's also interesting that Simone Moro, he has very strong feeling about mountaineering. it's of course happened from his experience. I always believe for Simone in his feeling of weather condition, mountain condition, because that moment when we descended through the zero visibility, Simone found in one place very thin rope for descent. We descended part. I don't understand how it was possible. After we went, not by the way where we ascended, but it was important to go by icy slopes because on the snow was too much avalanche danger. And to avoid avalanches, we descended by ice. It was difficult, we fell down in crevasse. And at once we finished all our resources. We had no ice crews, we had no ropes. And Simone went ahead of everybody as a real leader of expedition. And he went by the slope. And I saw him, Simone, where you disappeared? He jumped down from one crevasse. And I was looking, my feeling was, my heart was broken. Because as I was looking at Simone jump in the 100 meters down, 200 meters. But Simone was closer to this point and he understands that there is only 5-6 meters of jump and we descended after Simone. Oh, that day was for me much more difficult and dangerous because an avalanche, nothing happened from me. Okay, avalanche coming, what to do? But, in that day was a really difficult weather, difficult condition. And also that was good example how we were able to communicate, to decide the questions during the descent.
Brilliant. Thank you, Denis.
I just want, Denis, I miss you. Simone and I miss you.
We miss you. Schengen.
Thank you, Cory. I wish you everything best.
Thank you. Thank you, Denis.
Thank you, Denis.
Thank you.
Okay, that was, if we hadn't had Denis here, that would have been kind of like the marsh without the mallow. So it was kind of the icing on the cake. I think we're now almost ready to show you the film here in the auditorium. And then likewise with our guest online, we're going to take the guys away and they're going to answer some questions for the next 15 minutes. So I'm going to invite Cory to actually introduce the film.
So the film you're about to see, it's called Cold, very imaginative naming. But actually, when that was the working title, and it was a film I did with Anson Fogel and Kelly Cordes. And really, I came back from this expedition with a tremendous amount of footage. And I went to Anson and I said, actually Anson contacted me, said, I saw your dispatches, I want to make a film about this. And so we sat down and I sort of translated the story to Kelly, who's also a tremendous alpinist. And Anson, who's not actually much of a climber at all, was the person who put it together. And I think I needed very much that distance from it. I let them run with it, and they translated the story beautifully, more perfectly than I could have done, because being a part of it and then editing the film, it's too much. You get lost in your own interpretations of it. So the film's not what you normally see. It's meant to make you, hopefully connect with us as characters and not about this chest-pounding thing that we call mountaineering or alpinism. Hopefully you don't pick up on any ego in it because there shouldn't be any there. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. So cheers, we'll see you in a couple minutes.
Okay. Thank you.
But getting up is only halfway. We began the descent into worsening weather. 14 hours after leaving, we arrived back at our tent, totally exhausted. With burnt lungs and cold feet, we tried to sleep, coughing through the night. The morning of day 5 dawned terribly. We packed up, hoping to make the descent all the way to base camp. We only made it to Camp 1. We rolled back into the VE-25 and lit the stoves, trying desperately to warm our hands and feet. The following morning, after our 5th night in freezing sleeping bags, we began the descent to base camp in terrible weather, the worst we'd seen yet. Our trail forced us to traverse under a huge slope of G5. Seracs looming overhead, we knew the slopes were now horribly wind-loaded from the storm. As our progress slowed, I felt in the pit of my stomach it was only a matter of time before something went terribly, terribly wrong. Unfortunately, it did. As a massive avalanche off the slopes of G5 overtook us, the world became chaotic and black.
Just tell me what happened. Big avalanche.
All 3 buried. Miraculously, we all survived. 6 arduous hours later, and 2 major crevasse falls, we walked the final 100 meters to base camp. Our cooks and staff were overjoyed to see us alive. The first winter ascent of Gasherbrum II at an end. It's impossible to say just how lucky we all feel, simply to be alive.
Okay, welcome back to the North Face Never Stop Exploring speaker series. We now give you guys the opportunity to ask your questions online. So the first question is going to go to Corey, and it's from David Canal in Madrid. And the question to Corey is, what camera and lenses did you use when you were filming and recording cold? And what kind of problems did you experience during the recording?
That's a 14 hours. I get asked it a lot. The camera was the 5D Mark II, the Canon, obviously, which has made it's such a big splash in DSLR filmmaking, especially because it's just so versatile. And the lens was the 24-105 f4. And I took 6 or 8 extra batteries with me. And really, the only problem that occurred was the dial where you switch between modes back and forth got frozen. The wind is so strong up there that sometimes it blows snow into those tiny cracks, and it actually freezes the camera. But as far as functioning, in terms of the sensor and the electronics, it was absolutely brilliant. On the way down, it did get too packed with ice and snow to function anymore, but that was thankfully on the way down. But we had a G12 to back us up, so that was good.
Cool. Okay, thank you very much for that question, David, in Madrid. So question for you now, Simone. It's from a lady who could be from Poland. Her name is Anya Koslowska. She's actually based in London. The question to you is, how different was the winter ascent of G2 compared to the winter ascent of Shishapangma?
In terms of cold and wind, it was more or less the same. We are talking about cold, very cold temperature, because on the summit of Shishapangma with the Polish friend Piotr Morawski, we have minus 52. So probably we have more or less the same also on summit of Gasherbrum II. But what it is different, it was the time we have to go to the summit and come back. The descent was much, much more difficult, and the entire climb had been much more dangerous. So it's not just the elements, wind and cold, but the entire expedition was really more extreme, much more difficult for sure. And probably Gasherbrum II is the most difficult mountain you can attempt in winter.
Okay, Anya, I hope that answered the question. Our next question is also to you, Simone. I'm sure both of you boys can answer this question, but Simone is actually mentioned in the question. So it's from Alexander D. Kirschmaker. So I hope that was correct, Alexander. Simone, it's the classic question. Will you ever do K2 in winter?
Honestly, this was the plan. because after G come the letter K, G2, K2. But as you understood probably from the previous presentation, we are choosing the mountain also avoiding to have other expedition on the same mountain. We are not looking to share the efforts. We are looking for the pure exploration. So K2 was my project, was our project this year. And we decided to leave the project to the Russian expedition. They are friends. There is a big expedition. And so it is also a different style. It doesn't mean better or worse. It is a different style. So we decided to leave free the mountain for them. And this is the plan for the next year.
Thank you, Simone. The next question is from Matteo Cordini in Milan. And I'm going to give this, it's a general question, so I'm going to give this to Corey. So Corey, he hasn't seen the film Cold, but that would also answer this question, I believe, is what can you tell me about critical situations where you've risked your life? Has it happened, and how you felt, and how did you come out?
Yeah, it's a good question. On the way down from G2, we got hit by an avalanche, a big avalanche, and it was sort of the size that you just don't escape from. I was pretty certain, well, I was very certain that we were dying, and that, you know, I say it rather callously now, just it rolls off the tongue, but at the time it was very much getting hit in the face with this element of fragility and sort of vulnerability, and when you come face to face with the fact that the actions that you're doing and the things you're in love with can also kill you, you have to really examine them with you know, it's a pretty deep examination. But ultimately what I've come out with on the other side, and I think Simone would agree, in fact I know he would, is that love makes you do crazy, crazy things, and I would never stop doing what I'm doing. I might approach some things a little differently, or maybe not. But it's just it's passion, and sometimes passion can lead you to some kind of dangerous places, but that doesn't mean you stop doing it. So I'm still very excited to do this all the time.
Brilliant. Thank you for that question, Matteo in Milan. Next question is from somebody in Lima in Peru. So I'm kind of nice that this broadcast is reaching that far away. So Simone, after this great experience, what do you think is the meaning of life?
You know, when you come back from such kind of expedition, but also Makalu or Shishapangma, also a failed expedition, what you appreciate more are the simple things. I make an example. If you are in Himalaya attempting any mountain, in winter or in summer, but mainly in winter, where you have to melt ice to get to water, and the water that you are drinking is without metals, without mineral, without nothing, without taste, you understand the value of a simple glass of water. You keep the value to have a friends. Here, if you are alone, you ring the friends and you can meet in a few minutes and drink a beer together. There, you understand the value to be able to get a friend. So what is obvious here, when you come back, is not more obvious. So this is one of the examples of the meaning of the life. So I'm not escaping from the life. Take the decision to go far, give me a better attitude to be a normal person and appreciate also the simple things here.
Brilliant. Freddie, thank you for that question down in Lima. So the next question is from one of our friends in Russia. Unfortunately, I apologize, I cannot read your name. So yeah, they're very funny. But question to Corey is, what is your training program throughout the year?
You know, I don't think it's any different than Simone's or Denis's. Basically, the training for this kind of thing is a lot of running and a lot of climbing. The best training for climbing is climbing. I mean, that's the thing. We always try to emulate this. And what's the best training? Climbing. So going out and walking in the mountains, climbing in the mountains, being in the mountains, period, that's the best training. And the other thing that I think we all do a lot of is run. And running is basically, the reason is because you can be anywhere in the world and you can always go for a run. You know, there's other things you can do, but it's just staying consistent. You just need a constant level of fitness. So, but by the time you're ready to ramp up to the expedition, you're physically fit enough, but more so mentally fit enough to make it happen.
Okay, as we say at the North Face, you can always count on running. Next question is from Steve in Luxembourg, and this is actually specifically to you, Simone. Is there any project for a solo winter climb in the Himalayas?
This is something that had been done already because Krzysztof Wieliczki in 1998 summited Lhotse completely alone. And so I'm not planning, not because I will be not the first or it's not interesting, but for a simple and human reason. I love to share the happiness with someone. You can't imagine how nice it was to have a nice and warm hug from Corey and Denis from the summit. To be happy is like to be in love. You want to share and you want to scream this sentiment. So I'm not the best person to climb alone. I did solo climb. I did the first traverse of Everest, so the highest mountain in the world, solo. But when I was on the summit, nobody with me to embrace or to share the happiness. And this is something that is missing when you are alone.
So obviously the message here is that everybody needs to have a hug. Okay, the next question, both of you could definitely ask this question. It's from Nina Fatahi in the Grenoble School of Management, and it's how many calories a day were you eating to have enough energy to make it to the top, and what types of food were you eating?
You know, I think in my limited experience, I mean, I've done a lot of Himalayan climbing, but Simone might be better suited to answer this, but I think I can answer accurately and say the interesting thing about this kind of climbing is it's always a reduction, and there actually is no, I can't quantify or tell you exactly how many calories we were eating. All we were trying to do is take on enough to sustain us to keep going. But climbing at 8,000 meters, especially in the winter when it's that cold, you're constantly burning calories. So the answer is you can never take on enough. You can eat all day long. The problem with that is that your body really doesn't feel like it. You have absolutely no appetite. So on one day, you actually might only take in 1,000 calories, and you burn 10,000. You know, and that's why you're always constantly getting broken down. That's one of the hardest things about it. So I wish we had a more scientific answer for you on that, but I don't think we really do.
If you calculate that every hour of aerobic activities are 700 calories, but if you have also to fight against the cold, it becomes 1,000, 1,200. The summit day we were 14 hours, so 14 in 2,000, 14,000 calories. Maybe we eat for 2,000 calories. So we are under, for sure, we have not enough food. That's why we came home with a lot of kilos.
Yep, so thank you for that question, Nina, and hopefully you'll see Simone in a couple of weeks when he's over in Grenoble for another festival. We have one more question for the boys from our friend Stefano in Como. And he starts off by saying, maybe this is a silly question, but I don't believe it is. You guys are setting up many base camps on the way to the summit, and so therefore that implies you have a lot more weight to carry. So how much exactly is the question? And then how long does it take to set up a base camp? And how the hell do you do that at minus 46 degrees?
That's why I always say to start in the late November, to summit it after the 21st of December is very different than not to start also after winter. Because even to organize a base camp with the frozen hands is complicated. We had a base camp and we set 3 high camps, but we didn't prepare before because we prepare on the way up. It means we accept the first camp that is not yet on G2, but in the common glacier, the basic glacier. On the mountain, we were carrying our things. So our packs was 15, 20 kilo maximum. And the summit day, we have no packs, just to be as fast as we can, as light and fast as we can. So this strategy had been also the key strategy who take us in the summit and back here to talk.
And just really quickly, just to finish that, basically, we only left one camp on the mountain. That was Camp 1. And after that, we didn't have anything pre-established at all. So we went to Camp 1, then came down, went back to Camp 1, climbed to Camp 2, came down with everything. That was it. So.
Okay, I'd just like to say thank you very much to everybody for posting your questions and also for tuning in today. And we will endeavor to do more of this. So thank you for your support, and we will see you very soon. So we're going to go back and join the audience back in the auditorium, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Thank you very much.